Welcome to Paranormal, where the shadows whisper and true stories blur the line between reality and nightmare. Every encounter shared here is real and far more disturbing than fiction. Dare to listen?
The story begins with the curiosity of the narrator, who was still very young at the time, stepping into practices far older and darker than most would dare to explore. Drawn by the lure of forbidden knowledge, the narrator stumbled upon the Solomonic rites, specifically the infamous Lesser Key of Solomon. These texts promised gateways to forces beyond human understanding, entities that should never be trifled with. Along with a small group of friends, the narrator decided to try the ritual, unaware of the consequences waiting in the shadows. The night of the ritual arrived, cloaked in a silence so heavy it felt as though the world itself had paused to watch. Nervous excitement coursed through the group as they lit candles and recited invocations, speaking ancient names aloud that had not been uttered for centuries. The flames flickered unnaturally, bending as if acknowledging something unseen. Yet when the ritual ended, nothing appeared to happen. No voices, no shadows, no sign that anything had crossed into their world. Disappointed and half convinced it had all been superstition, the friends parted ways. But the night had other plans. When the narrator drifted into sleep, a nightmare took hold with terrifying clarity. An unseen entity chased relentlessly through the darkness just outside the narrator's own home. The fear was suffocating. This was not some hazy, symbolic dream. It was visceral, real, and terrifying. The narrator awoke suddenly, heart pounding, only to realize the terror hadn't ended. The sneakers were still on, and worse, damp grass clung to them, wet and fresh, as though the nightmare had spilled over into reality. Somehow, the chase had happened. Somehow, the dream had bled into the waking world. From that night forward, strange things began to follow the narrator. Odd, unsettling moments that could not be explained and could not be ignored. Life itself began to unravel in subtle yet devastating ways. The narrator was eventually expelled from seminary under circumstances that seemed to echo the dark presence from that ritual. Though details remained unclear, the implication was undeniable. Whatever had been called forth that night had not released its grip. Years passed. The narrator grew older, pushing the memory of that ritual into the background, convincing himself that perhaps it had all been imagination. By 25, those events were little more than a scar hidden beneath daily life. That is, until a trip to New Orleans ripped open the old wound. While visiting the city with a girlfriend, the narrator stepped into a voodoo priestess shop, a place that seemed like nothing more than a tourist attraction. Fortune readings, incense smoke, dim lighting, all the trappings of entertainment dressed as mysticism. Out of curiosity, they agreed to a fortune-telling, paying $300 for what they expected to be little more than a show. But the moment the priestess looked into the narrator's eyes, everything changed. Her performance collapsed. Her face twisted into fear, her voice shaking as she said something was clinging to him, something dark, something touched by the devil himself. She grew so disturbed that she refused to continue, shoving the money back into their hands and sending them away in panic. It wasn't scorn, it wasn't skepticism. It was raw terror at whatever she saw lingering around him. Within days of that encounter, the past came alive again. For 3 consecutive nights, the narrator was dragged back into the same nightmare from youth. Chased in the dark, sneakers pounding the earth, an unseen pursuer closing in. The same fear, the same suffocation, the same dread that this thing had never left. The reason for sharing this account is not for attention or amusement. The narrator made it clear. This is a record, a warning, and a confession. A record so the story is not lost or dismissed as simple fantasy. A warning to anyone tempted by the allure of the occult, who might think these rituals are harmless curiosities. And a confession that, even after years of silence, the price of that one night still haunts him. The chain of events is too clear to dismiss. A youthful experiment, tangible nightmares, the loss of a religious path, and an encounter years later with someone who had no reason to fake fear. It all paints one chilling picture. This is not imagination, nor coincidence. It is a haunting that never truly ended. For 3 nights the dreams returned, exactly as they had before. Perhaps they will fade again. Perhaps they won't. But what is certain is this. Some doors, once opened, never close. Some shadows, once summoned, never retreat. And some choices, no matter how young or reckless, follow us forever, waiting for the right time to remind us of the cost of reaching into the unknown. The occult is not a game. The rituals hidden in old texts are not mere stories. They carry weight, they carry danger, and they demand a price. Even if the results are not immediate, the debt is always waiting to be paid. And perhaps the most unsettling truth of all, this nightmare did not return because the narrator sought it out. It came back on its own, reminding him that what clings to him has never let go. So, take this story not as entertainment, but as a warning. Some knowledge should never be touched. Some doors should remain forever closed. If you found this story chilling, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real experiences and terrifying encounters that will keep you questioning what lies beyond the veil.